worst advice you can give a young person is to follow your passion. Because usually what that means is a lot of young people will conflate passion with hobbies. You were an athlete. That has about a 0.1% employment rate. So unless you're getting green lights very early that you're in the 0.1%, I would suggest you leave that industry earlier rather than later.
Okay.
Fashion, opening a restaurant, a club, being a DJ, all 90+% unemployment rates. The key is to find your talent. What could I develop ninja-like mastery in an industry that has a 90+% employment rate? And then your ability to make money, or the money, the accoutrements that that mastery will offer, economic security, camaraderie, relevance, a broader selection set of mates than you deserve. People start laughing at your jokes when they're not funny. That will make you passionate about whatever it is. If you can develop mastery around anything and it provides you with a good life, you become passionate about that thing. And keep in mind, when people tell you to follow your passion, it usually means they're already rich and they made their money on iron ore smelting. Find your talent. Workshop through your 20s. I thought I was going to be a pediatrician. Took chemistry? No. Thought I was going to be an athlete. Got to UCLA? No way.
Nope.
Thought I was going to be an investment banker. I was awful at it. And finally, I kept workshopping and I found something that I could be good, maybe even great at. Once you find that, the next part of the equation is what I call stoicism. It should just probably be called discipline. And that is recognize real reward comes from things other than material items. And try to be that person that drives a Hyundai versus a BMW until you have absolutely too much money to spend.
Right.
Don't be the guy ordering a bottle of Grey Goose to impress potential mates. Don't be the person that gets seduced by every offer every day to upgrade from economy to economy plus. I had it this morning. Yesterday I was ordering food in New York, and right after I ordered from Joe and the Juice my tunicado, hey, would you like to add flourless chocolate cake for $12 from Balthazar Boulangerie? Yeah, I like cake. Boom, right? Capitalism is so amazing at taking godlike technology that's tested thousands of times a second to hit you at your weak point and get you to spend more money. So I don't want to pretend it's easy, but just try and develop something resembling a savings muscle based on the notion that most studies show that real happiness does not come from things. And also recognize that no one is as impressed with your stuff as you are. Be the guy or gal that figures out a way to save $100, $200, $300 a month in your 20s. Develop a savings muscle. Some people never develop that muscle. They can never flex it because they just never develop it. And everybody has a superpower with respect to wealth. Youth superpower is time. And the next thing, that's the next part of the equation, because try and ignore a flaw in our species where, because we have spent for 98% of our tenure on this planet, we have lived less than 35 years. We cannot imagine that we're going to get old. We can't imagine. You're probably going to live another 70 years, maybe 60 years. It's impossible for the human brain to grasp that. It's also impossible to calibrate it and to recognize just how fast it's going to go.
Wow.
I was at UCLA yesterday. That was 40 years ago.
Wow.
It feels like yesterday. And 11% a year, well, that's what the S&P has been up since 2008. That sounds really meddling. 11% a year means every 21 years, your investments are going up 8-fold. And if I could give you a magic box, and if you could figure out any way to put $10,000 in there, and you're going to get 80 back in what will feel like an instant, and ask anyone over the age of 40, it goes really fast. The question then becomes, what kind of sacrifices would you make to put that money in that box? So appreciate how fast time is going to go. And then finally, diversification. And this is where I got really hurt. Recognize that 49% of your success and your failures are not your fault. And then 51% of it is out of your control. Individual performance will always be trumped by market dynamics. I always went all in on my businesses. Always. Because the fact that I was involved in how awesome I am and the signals I was getting from the market, or I started a company, it's public on the NASDAQ, I was that guy that borrowed against his stock to buy more stock.
Interesting.
Right? So when '08 came along and my company hit the great financial recession, Chapter 11, I went from being worth $30 or $40 million on paper to negative $2 million. And this typically happens about the time, as it did with me, that my oldest son had the poor judgment to come marching out of my girlfriend. And sitting there at the age of 42, feeling like I already failed my son on his first day, And then looking back and thinking, if I'd just been a little smarter, if I'd just taken some money off the table and put it in a low-cost index fund and let time take over.
And didn't touch it.
And just left it. Don't trade it. Don't day trade. If I just made a little bit of sacrifice, been a little bit more mature, then I wouldn't have that kind of real severe mental anguish I felt.